Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So, European football has been suspended by the coronavirus. Pretty much. I mean, the authorities of European football have all decided to suspend their seasons. So this is the Champions League, the Europa League, and all the domestic leagues around Europe have been suspended by the authorities. So it's all been suspended until the 2nd of April or the 3rd of April, depending on when the fixture is for that particular league in question. And I just want to say, I think this was the right decision. I think it was 100% the right decision for them to suspend the leagues in light of the coronavirus. As people will know, in the last couple of weeks, there's been European games all over the place that have been played behind closed doors. And whilst I understand that they could probably continue that way if they really wanted to, although having said that, some players have been affected now, so it's debatable, who's in contact with who, do we even know how it spreads? So I think overall it's the right decision, because not only that, but football's about fans. Football is about fans. I mean, it's a professional sport, and the players have to train really hard every day in order to be at the best of their ability. However, football is an entertainment industry, and it is about the live events. It's about fans being able to go and watch their teams play. So I don't think finishing the season behind closed doors would not be an option. Even if it was, I think it's now spread too far to the point where, players have got it, Mikel Arteta's got it, the manager, Callum Hudson-Odoi from Chelsea has also picked it up. I believe there's about 6 players from Serie A, which is where it's been hit the highest in Italy. So in Serie A, there's about 6 players that have got it. And there's just people from all over the world are coming down with this virus now. So I think it was the right thing to do at the time. It's a question of, is it going to go further than April the 3rd? And I honestly believe that it will. I mean, if you look at Italy, for example, and that's where this is kicking off the most, there's over 15,000 cases there. 15,000. Now, that doesn't mean that all of those people are going to die, because the death toll percentage is actually quite low against this virus at the moment. But, that ultimately is irrelevant, because there's a lot of people that are coming down with it. Certain people are dying, and from what I'm hearing, when you get this, you're bedridden for a week. So the whole country of Italy is on lockdown, so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it seems to have peaked right now, but I'd be very surprised if they're still able to play fixtures after April the 2nd. Like, if they're able to just resume, I'd be very surprised if Italy were able to do that. The UK is a little bit lower. The UK has an amount of 798 cases right now, but remember people, this is just the reported cases. There will always be more than what's being reported. Because some people won't report their case, some people won't go to the doctors, and some people will potentially die from it and never be found. As morbid as that is to say, it is true. So what I would say to all of you, please look after your loved ones, please be careful, please wash your hands. Do everything that the government and the health agencies are ultimately telling you to do. I mean, I'm not saying I don't necessarily believe that it spreads by bacteria, but until we know enough, I think everyone needs to take precautions, because we don't want to be losing loved ones to this, because it's obviously sweeping the entire face of the earth at the moment. I mean, I would say in a lot of ways this is now, it's difficult to say, but I think this is now the most serious health epidemic since I've been alive, and we're talking since the 90s, so I would say the only other one that you can really compare it with is Ebola. And if you look at things on the surface, Ebola was far more deadly. Because in Ebola, there's 28,600 cases of Ebola in total. Out of that, there was 11,325 deaths. So I think what we can surmise from that is that this is just between 2014 and 16, by the way. Before that, obviously, there was quite a lot more, because there's been several outbreaks of Ebola over the last 40 years. But over the most recent one that everyone remembers quite well, there was 11,325 deaths in the world, and there was 28,600 cases in total. That's quite a high death toll in terms of the percentage of the people that have sort of acquired the disease. So, compared to coronavirus, Ebola was definitely a lot more deadly. However, I think what we have to consider is that Ebola, this was over a period of 2 years. So Ebola was over a period of 2 years, between 2014 and 2016. And the total cases only rose to 28,600. Whereas coronavirus is already a lot more than that. As of today, the globally reported cases of coronavirus are an amount of 148,026. That's just reported. There are thousands more that we don't know about. That's a fact. There are going to be thousands more that we don't know about. And I wouldn't say that it's peaked yet in all these countries. It may be peaking in Italy right now. But as we've seen in the UK, it's rising by more and more each day. Every day there's a higher rise in the amount of people that have contracted the virus. So I think it's difficult to say how many cases or what the death toll will be at the end of the coronavirus. And it may not go on for 2 years like Ebola did, but however long it goes on for, I think it's likely to be a higher death toll in total. I mean, the disease is not more deadly than Ebola, but it's clearly a lot more infectious. It's spread like around the world like wildfire. And I don't really buy how people think it spreads. Like, the people started saying that it was due to that Wu-Tang food market, where Chinese people, or people who were in China rather, had been eating monkeys and bats who were infected with the coronavirus, and they've caught it as a result of that. Now, I just don't buy that. I feel like that's a slightly racist sort of interpretation of it. I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know. I wasn't there. But what you sort of have to take into consideration is it's gone to all these different countries. And I can't really buy that a little Wu-Tang food market in China would have had people that have then had contact with other people who have then gone to all of these different countries. Like, they would have had to have contact with people that have gone to Italy, the USA, the UK. Now, I know China's quite a big tourist destination, but I don't really buy it spreading like that. I think that it's something in the atmosphere. Now, some people have talked about 5G, some people have talked about sort of the overall pollution, and the pollution in China is quite severe. So I think that it is likely to be something like that that's causing it. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so this is just my opinion, but I'm just trying to use my brain here and use logic, and I don't feel like it's spreading through bacteria. Like, Tom Hanks got it. Him and his wife got it whilst they were in Australia. And I can't imagine that they'd be sort of mixing with the common folk. Do you know what I mean? I think they would be... I feel like they would sort of be protected from it spreading by bacteria. So I don't really buy that. But that's down to opinion. Obviously, you can leave your opinion in the comments section. And I think that I will probably be proved right or wrong on that. So that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about the football. I mean, this shouldn't be the most important thing. I think the most important thing right now is that we keep each other safe, that the world actually works together in a way that, to be honest, we rarely do, other than in times of crisis. So it is time for everyone to pull together now. But I did make this video to talk about football. So I've done a quick introduction on the coronavirus. I'm going to talk about football now. So, as I said earlier in the video, everything's been suspended. It's been put on hold until the 2nd of April. Now, this is very interesting, and I think I know exactly why they've chosen this date, because it doesn't seem like it will be over by then, to be honest with you. So, the 2nd and 3rd of April, what it is that most of the big leagues, so they've played between about 26 and 28 games right now, and their fixture list takes them, I think the Premier League fixture list takes us into mid-May, so about the 16th of May the Premier League will finish. Serie A finishes on about the 24th of May. Now, the Euros start, Euro 2020 starts on, it's going to start on the 12th of June and finish on the 12th of July. So, having said that, we're going to postpone games, and what I think is happening is they're not going to try and play these games in midweek, so I don't think they'll try and do that. There's too many Europa League, Champions League fixtures if, hypothetically, we do end up sort of replaying the season. Those games are most likely going to be played after the original finish of the fixtures. So the games that are going to be postponed on the 3rd of April and then it'll be the games that are basically being postponed this month. So we're looking at this weekend and next weekend. So those games are then going to be played after the leagues would finish in May. And that gives them about a week's rest before the Euros. In Italy, it will be less than that. I think Italy would have to play a midweek game. So potentially have to finish their season in midweek and then go over, any players that are playing the Euros would have to trek over there straight after. So I think that creates a bit of a logistical problem in itself, because I think the authorities such as UEFA runs the Euro 2020. They are quite a corporate authority, and they are not going to want the Euros to be postponed. It's a big international event, and it's where they rake in a lot of money from that. So I don't think they're going to want that to be postponed. They're going to want to have a very solid plan in place for how that's going to go. They're going to want people to have planned it and bought tickets. People have to get the time off work to go over to the Euros. So it's not going to be a good thing for UEFA if they move those. So this is why I think they've chosen that date, because they don't. It's like an emergency. It's kind of like they've done this as an emergency, and they would rather it not go any further than that. But I have to say, based on the speed that this virus is spreading, I think it will go further than that. I think it will almost certainly go further than the 3rd of April. Just because look at the speed that it's now travelling at in the UK and in America. So it's just the amount of cases are just rising every day. So for it to be better by April 3rd, that's 2 weeks away. I just don't see it happening. So this sort of brings me on to the purpose of the video. What is the contingency plan going to be as far as football goes? I mean, this is relevant to other sports as well, but I'm going to focus on football because football is sort of what I know. So the contingency plans, from what we've seen, I think most likely it's going to be quite straightforward. I think the Premier League in particular, they're probably going to keep everything as it is. But what was interesting is that I think it was the president of the Italian FA. The president of the Italian FA suggested this idea of doing playoffs in Serie A. And he was talking about doing playoffs for both the league title, so the Scudetto, as they call it, and the relegation zone. So he was suggesting a four-way playoff for the title. So if you look at the Serie A table now, so you've got Juventus and Lazio. So Juventus are on 63 points, Lazio are on 62 points. Then you've got Inter Milan, who do have a game in hand, but their points tally's back on 54. And then Atalanta on 48, who have basically just scraped into the top four. So I think that Juventus and Lazio would feel particularly hard done by this method. So if they were to have to play off to win the title, Atalanta could win the Serie A. I don't even know if that's happened before. So they could win Serie A when they're realistically scraping for a place in the top four. Like Roma are only 3 points behind them, although Atalanta have a game in hand. So I think that would be a very interesting way of doing things. But I think it should probably be a three-way round robin in order to make it fair, because there's so much points between Atalanta and the top of that table. If they were to win their game in hand, they would have 51 points, at which point they'd be 12 behind Juventus. Now, I haven't done research in terms of the amount of times that a 12-point deficit has been overturned between March and May, but I'm pretty sure I'd be able to count it on one hand. In any European league, I don't think that can't have happened very often. So I think having them play off is a bit harsh. I think a round robin between Inter Milan, Lazio and Juventus would be more fair, to be totally honest with you. So I don't know if they'll do that. I'm just talking about what this guy has come out and said, that that's a possibility. So again, the relegation zone, it gets a bit confusing. And I didn't really know what he was talking about by having the relegation zone play off, because if you look at Serie A, at the bottom of the table, you've got Brescia, Spal, Lecce and Genoa as the four teams that are lowest down. But again, it's like, how likely... Spal and Brescia are gone. Like, 18 and 16 points versus, like, Lecce and Genoa, who could very feasibly stay up with 25 points. I mean, it's not really fair, is it? Because Spal and Brescia, how often do you see a 7-point deficit overturned? How often does a team gain 7 points to get out of the relegation zone this late into the season? Like, I think there's 12 games left in Serie A. Yes, they've all played 26 games, as you can see there. Some have played 25, but most have played 26. So there's literally 12 games to gain 7 points. And when you're in the relegation zone, you're losing every bloody game. So, like, you're not going to make that amount up. It's not happening. So I think it would, the way that makes more sense, I think it's fair to Genoa and Lecce to put them in a playoff with Spal and Brescia, and then the one team who wins gets out of it. I feel like it'd be better if you did like Torino, Sampdoria, Genoa and Lecce. And then I think you'd have to have the loser of the third place playoff goes down. So I think that would, in some ways, I know that it doesn't make sense as far as a viable competition, like it wouldn't be great for fan entertainment, but that is the fairest way to do it in light of the sport. You can't do that with two teams are just pretty much already down. But I'll tell you what this did do, this idea, it gave me some, it started making me think about the Premier League, because obviously you've got like Liverpool, you've got Liverpool who are miles ahead of everyone else. Like, you look at the Premier League table here, Liverpool have got 82 points out of 29 games. It's just ridiculous, and I say that as a Man United fan, but it would be hilarious if they had to play off against City, Leicester and Chelsea for the Premier League title. Like, Chelsea have lost 9 games, and they could be crowned Premier League champions. I think it's 10 games they've lost, in fact. They've lost so many games. Like, they're so inconsistent, and they could be crowned Premier League champions. I mean, I would love it. Because I don't, obviously, as a United fan, I do not want Liverpool to win the league. However, it would be completely unfair for that to happen. I think that what they would most likely do in the Premier League, I think they will most likely keep everything as it is at the moment. I honestly think that's what's going to happen. So Liverpool get the title, unfortunately. United would finish 5th, which is not a bad thing, because I think with City going out, City being banned from the Champions League, providing that doesn't get overturned, which I don't think it should, providing that ban not being overturned, surely it would be the 5th team in the league that gets to go into the Champions League. I would have thought that's very logical. Unless they're going to make like a spot for the FA Cup winner or the League Cup winner or something like that. I don't know. I don't personally see it happening. But I think, yeah, I think we should be in the Champions League if we finish 5th, if that's the way that they want to do things. Alternatively, if City's ban gets overturned, then it'll be Chelsea and we'll be in the Europa League. But would they do a playoff for the 4th place between Chelsea United, Wolverhampton and Sheffield United? I think that would almost be fair, even though I don't have much faith in United's chances in that scenario. I think that would almost be the fair way of doing it, because it's like those teams are all inconsistent, and does any of them deserve to be in the top 4 more than the other? I don't really think they do. I don't think they do. But we've done very badly against Wolves. We'd probably draw with them and then lose on penalties. And then Chelsea would, I don't know, I think Chelsea would probably lose as well. You'd end up with one of Wolves and Sheffield United in the Champions League. So, yeah, it's an interesting thought there by that guy. But my preference, and this is not an objective preference, this is completely biased as a United fan. My preference would be we just cancel this season and then Liverpool don't win anything. Because they've just been knocked out. In the last couple of weeks, they've been knocked out of the FA Cup and the Champions League. And, you know, arguably, they definitely deserve to win in the second leg against Atletico. I thought they were far the better team. Oblak was outstanding. However, I would love it for them not to win anything after this raving about what a great team they've got and everything like that. I would love it. But objectively, I know that that's not fair. And I think we've got to give, I think if it were to go on longer than April 3rd, if this season were to be postponed and then we just decide to, I think it's it is likely they're going to decide to cut their losses with this season one way or another. So they essentially either rule the season a no contest, no one gets anything, and we just restart again from next season. Alternatively, they just finish with everything the way that it is, and I think that's the most likely outcome for the Premier League in particular, and they'll give Liverpool the title. And then, you know, it depends what they want to do with Man City, I guess, but I feel like we should get in the Champions League. I feel like Man United deserve Champions League football if that's what's going to happen. I do think that if this is going to go on past the 2nd and 3rd of April, and we're going to have to postpone more games, I do think that UEFA would rather just have a contingency plan for the season. I don't think they won't delay it any more than that. I really don't think that they will. As I've said, I think that they will value the Euros very highly. Like, they really will value the Euros a lot. So, I think they won't be down for postponing any more games. They won't be down for playing any more games behind closed doors, because if you do that, you might as well just play it in a sports hall, in some leisure centre somewhere, in Burnley or Blackpool, someplace like that. So I really don't think they're postponing any more games, and I think that's why this date has been selected, because they can that way they can finish the season, play a couple more games that have been postponed, so like the games of this week and next week, and then, you know, perhaps the Champions League midweek games. So they can play those games at that point, and then they can still have the players ready in time for the Euros, so that they don't have to move the date of the Euros. Because like I say, tickets will already have sold for that. People will already have got time off work for the Euros. So UEFA's not going to rearrange that unless it's something that they simply have to do. Unless it's a case where the whole thing needs to be cancelled. But if the Euros is deemed as something that's playable, then I think that that's going to take priority over everything. I think that that will take priority over everything. So I think UEFA will be like, fuck club football. Fuck club football this season. We'll just put everything the way that it is. We'll have a nice, long competition, rake in some dollar from the Euros, and then we'll get back to normal next season. So I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's very sad, all of this, but these are decisions that need to be taken. I think it is necessary that they postpone games. I mean, I don't particularly agree with sort of the way that UEFA work, but I think this is the correct thing to do now. Like, they've postponed the games because there's just nothing gained from games being played behind closed doors. I just don't see that as a viable option. It's not good for fans. It's not. I mean, it might be good for the players. It might mean that there's less pressure on them, but it means that football clubs are going to start losing money if they have to play all these games behind closed doors. I mean, I think the economy in general is going to be badly hit by this virus, especially if a lot of these countries have gone into lockdown, so their economies probably already are suffering. But like us in the UK, I think our economy will suffer very badly, and I think that's why the interest rate's been decreased down to like 0.25%. But I would say watch out for the distraction tactics, because it is quite funny, and I'm not going to say that I'm not by any means saying that the coronavirus is not real. That's not true. We all know that there's people that are suffering with it, but I think we have to be very aware of the distraction tactics of the government. Sometimes, in this sort of situation, like we've just had Brexit in the UK, and the UK are very good friends with the US, the United States of America, who most likely are the most powerful country in the world, definitely the most powerful Western country anyway. So, I don't know, it's just a bit fishy, isn't it? Like, Brexit happens 31st of January, then all this kicks off very soon, sort of afterwards, perhaps even during. So, is it a distraction tactic to get people to start thinking about something else? You know, people started saying that before Brexit happened, there was economists that basically said that we wouldn't have enough food on our shelves and we wouldn't have enough goods as far as at the supermarkets and stuff like that. And now you've got all these people coming out stocking on toilet papers, and guess what? There's no goods on the shelves. So, you know, I don't want to say anything too controversial. This is a sports channel, but I think we need to be aware of what's going on. We need to be aware of what's going on so that we don't take the bait like some suckers for something that's not not genuine. There's something very fishy about the stories that we're being fed as far as the bacteria. You know, maybe that will turn out to be all correct. Maybe it will. This is just my opinion. There's something very off about the whole thing. Something very, very off. Anyway, I feel like I'm going down a very dangerous path here, so I'm going to get back to the topic of the video, which is football. So all leagues are suspended until further notice. Manchester United, will they get into the Champions League? If this season is called off now, we're in 5th place. So Manchester City, who have cheated to get to where they are. They've cheated with oil money and they have overspent on their revenue. And they're in 2nd place, but we're in 5th place. So if they get banned from the Champions League, should Man United be allowed to enter the Champions League? What do you guys think? Please comment on the video below. I want to have a conversation about this. I do want to have a conversation about this. It's very important. Like, what's happening with that ban? What's happening with that ban? This has just thrown everything even further up in the air. Because that ban, they cheated. They should be penalised to the full extent. If the evidence around that is true, around them emails, then I think Man City should be banned. So guys, to summarise, there's a few questions that everyone's got. It's uncertainty. I've got my opinions as what as what I think is going to happen in the footballing world and, in the real world. But what are your opinions? Because I know no two opinions are the same. So what's your opinion on the Italian FA coming out, the president of the Italian FA coming out and saying we might do playoffs? Is that a good idea? Is that fair? Would this be something that you would like to see in the Premier League so that Liverpool don't get their title? Would this be something that, to the Italian teams, as I've said, Atalanta scraped into the top 4, should they have the opportunity to win Serie A? It's another question. How long will it last? Do we think that this suspension will go on past April? Like, do we even think it will go past that? Or do we think everything's going to be okay in the next 2 weeks? I know that I don't, but again, this is just my opinion. So I want other people's opinions. How do we think this is going to go? How is this going to shake out? How is it going to affect the world? And how is it going to affect football? What's going to happen if we have to postpone games to where it's eaten into the Euros? Do we think that the season will be cancelled? Should the whole season be cancelled? Should we just write it off as a no contest? Should we already do that now? Lots of questions, guys. Please leave your opinion in the comments section, because I think this is so interesting as far as what's happening and the uncertainty that's around it. The coronavirus in general, but also in sport. I know that for me, as I said in one of my previous videos, I'm supposed to be going to watch Leon Edwards versus Tyron Woodley at the O2 Arena. That's now next week. It's on the 21st of March. So, is this event going to get cancelled? Am I still going to be able to go to it? I don't know. I think we're only a couple of really bad days of coronavirus away from the UK being on lockdown similar to a lot of these other countries. I really do think that. Additionally, Khabib versus Tony Ferguson. I really want this fight. This is the 5th time that they've tried to make it. And I feel like this fight, once again, the coronavirus is more important than any sport. I don't want what I'm about to say to take away from that. This fight, for real, it's been attempted 4 times. Khabib's pulled out twice. Tony Ferguson's pulled out twice. And now, coronavirus could stop it from happening. The combat gods do not want it to happen. What do we all think? What do we all think about that fight? What do we think about the sporting world in general? What do we think about how the coronavirus has affected everything? Is it going to get worse before it gets better? Guys, I've rambled on a bit in this video because I feel very strongly about the subject. I feel like there's a lot to be asked and there's a lot to be said. So again, I don't know all the answers. This is simply my opinion. But again, please give me your opinions. I want to know what everyone's thinking about this. And once again, thank you very much for listening to the video. Thank you for listening to me ramble for what is nearly half an hour now. Thank you very much for listening. If you could please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic. Peace.